Since its release on December 16th, 2021, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach has created so many mysteries it's generally unreal. However, one I don't see talked about often is what year Security Breach takes place in. Like, there isn't even any dedicated YouTube videos discussing the topic as far as I know. That being said, this video will go over pretty much all the candidates for Security Breach's year, which are 2021, 2029, 2035, 2038 and 2046. However, stay tuned because one of these has a major piece of evidence that probably confirms it takes place in that year. Just want to say big thanks to the FNaF Theories wiki for some of the evidence, the link will be in the description below. With all this considered, let's now dig deep into this mystery. The evidence for 2021 is that FNaF AR has emails that have the years 2019 and 2020 on them, and their Pizzaplex seems to be operational during the events of the game. Next, there are 6 feet social distancing signs in the Pizzaplex, and these signs became the norm during the COVID-19 pandemic to stop the virus from spreading. This implies Security Breach is in 2020 or 2021. Another piece of evidence is that in the Tales from the Pizzaplex story The Mimic, which probably takes place in 1979, Edwin Murray is 24 years old, and in The Storyteller, which takes place 40 years later, he is 64 years old in 2019, implying the Pizzaplex existed in the 2010s. The last piece of evidence is that the games sometimes take place in the year they're released, so Security Breach could take place in 2041. Yeah, now all this needs to be debunked. Firstly, the FNaF AR emails are based on their real life dates they released. Secondly, the 6 feet signs could literally just be a reference to how Steel were heavily affected by the pandemic. Furthermore, the Into the Pit game, which takes place in either 2020 or 2021, shows no signs of COVID being around. Thirdly, Tails' games got debunked by Secret America due to Fiona being alive after David was born, which contradicted Tails as Fiona died during childbirth. In the games, it's implied she died at Fall Fest. Even if Tails was confirmed, Edwin's age was inconsistent in Tails alone, as in The Storyteller. There's a part in the story where Edwin is reflecting on his 24-year-old self, and Fiona is present during that flashback. So Edwin would be 28 in the Mimic story, which placed The Storyteller around 2015, so yeah, it's very inconsistent. Also, about the release date evidence, FNaF games don't follow this, because FNaF 1 and 2 would be in 2014 else. The thing that basically debunks this year entirely as well is that the calendars one confined in Security Breach don't even match 2021. Also, this theory doesn't work with FNaF 3's year, which I believe is in 2023. I made a video on this topic recently, and if you're interested in the evidence, since many people believe FNaF 3 2015 nowadays, the link is in the description below. The next year that I've been seeing thrown around is 2038. The only evidence I can really find is that in the birthday level in the multi-golf arcade game, there are 2 balloons next to each other that create the number 55. 2038 believers assume that it's 55 years after 1983, so 1983 plus 55 would give you 2038. Not gonna lie, this seems very flawed because nothing really assumes that. The 55 could mean anything, or it should have said flash out the background as it is a birthday level after all. I guess it could mean 55 years since the founding of FNaF Entertainment, but even then that might be wrong since Secret America shows FNaF Entertainment has been around for a long while, probably since the 1960s, and this would imply Security Breach in 2021, which is unlikely as stated earlier. Now these next years are the most discussed years of when Security Breach takes place, mainly due to these years matching the in-game calendars. So let's start with... Not gonna lie, 2046 doesn't really have that much evidence, mainly because the other years not mentioned yet have better evidence. Like the only thing I can find is that it matches the in-game calendars, and that the Faz Live magazines in-game imply the Pizzaplex has been around for 19 years due to issues 17, 18 and 19 all being spring edition, implying the magazine has been releasing new issues every spring for the past 19 years. However, it's probably unlikely as 1, we don't know when these magazines even started, like they could have been around while the Pizzaplex was under construction in order to generate hype for the place, and 2, it's probably an inconsistency since Monty's and Roxy's magazine have the same number, which is 19, so overall 2046 just needs more evidence as of now. 2029 is the second most believed year of when Security Breach takes place. The evidence is that it matches the in-game calendars. The year 2029 has been mentioned before in the FNaF franchise, as on April Fool's Day in 2017, Scott made a joke summary of the FNaF movie and had the year set in 2029. Most 2029 believers also believe FNaF 3 2015 or 2017, as it cannot work with FNaF 3 2023 because hand unit states regarding the indie games, which were created after Pizzeria Simulator, that the people were fed with those lies for several years, meaning Help Wanted would take place in 2027 or 2028 at the earliest under FNaF 3 2023, and the Pizzaplex is presumably under construction during Help Wanted, and considering the Pizzaplex is implied to be either 2 years 10 months or 5 years old, this would make 2029 impossible under FNaF 3 2023. So it has decent evidence and is probably the best choice if you believe FNaF 3 2015 or FNaF 3 2017, but I don't find it as likely, so therefore I don't think 2029 is the year of Security Breach. 2045 is probably the year Screwbridge takes place. Firstly, it matches the in-game calendars. Secondly, and what I think is the smoking gun for this year, is that 2045 is written on a poster called Fred Masquerade. Many people think it doesn't say 3 on the poster and says X instead. However, I disagree, as it's written like a signature, so it's going to look bad either way. And also, you can see the 3 as it has the curve. Some people also think it might be an old poster. However, using the 1983 logic from FNaF 4, where the year is present on TV and that's how Scott showed the minigames took place in that year, it's probably the same with 2045. There was no piece of evidence for this year, as there was graffiti which says 205, which could be 2045 but shortened down into 3 numbers. However, this is a stretch, and doesn't have as good evidence as the 223 and HRY 223, as that at least had the pattern and also Follow Me being heavily talked about by Henry in the audio tape, connecting back to FNaF 3. Overall, Screwbridge probably takes place in 2035 due to that Fred Masquerade poster. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, as I've got more videos coming. This is my second long form FNaF theory. Constructive criticism is welcome in the comments section, and be respectful for one another, as it's a creepy bear game all at the end of the day. Anyway, take care everyone, and I'll see you on the flip side. Goodbye.